Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Lead Podcast, where our intention is to support the development of future hospitality industry leaders. Our goal today is to talking to from attending to influencing, using events to build your hospitality career. Amy, it's great to see you.
Great to see you as well. I apologize. I did not get the dress code, but that's okay. You both look fabulous. I am super excited. And one of my favorite people in the world is joining us today, Lauren Selman. She's out in DC. She runs IFTBA. I'm going to have her run through what that stands for. But one of the things that we're talking about today is the network and how you can join events and how you can grow your career through those sectors. So, Lauren, welcome and tell us a little bit about yourself. What is IFTBA? How did you get here? And I'm going to add one thing. She's a fabulous volunteer on the lead committee as well as Matt. So thank you for being here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. So the IFBTA is the International Food and Beverage Technology Association. We are a not-for-profit trade association that focuses on networking and education of the global food and beverage industry. We have chapters, we host events, we like to connect people. Industry matchmaker is kind of the unofficial title that people have appointed me. You asked how I got here. My background is kind of winding in all roads. Started with musical theater, ended up in entertainment PR, and now I've been in hospitality and food service for 15 years.
Which I totally think fits your personality because you are great at connecting and making people feel warm when they meet you, but also educating people along the way. So
I
I'm going to
appreciate.
jump into this question. Um, When leaders hear the words like networking or industry events, a lot of these folks listening on the call have never been to an event. They don't even know how to access an event.
Mm.
And many immediately think they need to have business cards. It's awkward conversations. They don't know anybody in the room, or there's going to be sales pitches, right? So, what do you hope the people that are listening are going to take away from the real value of showing up at some of these events? I wouldn't know either of you and a lot of my network had I not gone to some of these events. So, and some of them are some of my best friends like the both of you. So what are your thoughts around that if you're listening, and how do you access that and why do you think it's so important?
Well, first of all, I am a major proponent in attending events, and I understand that, to your point, many of the people listening might not have access to events, and I understand that that's something that I've been graciously afforded with my businesses over the years. Um, but what I would really want people to understand is that networking and connection by way of events, especially, is a key component of moving up in your professional and personal growth. And getting there, to your point, Amy, it's funny. I was reminiscing about how I met you and the way that that happened, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point, kind of put a smile on my face because you're absolutely right. Many of us never would have met had it not been for not only our industry, but the fact that we're able to go out and be on the road and meet others that are like us. So I would just really want to impart that events are a key component of that networking and personal growth. And any opportunity to be able to get out on the road is something to take advantage of.
How do you find out about them? I mean, I went to one and then it turns into another. Like there's restaurant leadership conference. There's Prosper. There's the National Restaurant Association show in Chicago, where it's the biggest one, and they're all serving different purposes. So how do you know there's create? There's so many. There's so many now. So how do you know when they're happening? Is it a LinkedIn thing you think? Because a lot of folks listening do not have LinkedIn. So do you feel like they should be signing up for something like that? Is it in QSR FSR magazine? But how do you find out about those if you're kind of new to the industry in that area?
Well, you bring up a really interesting point because I've been giving a lot of thought over the last couple of weeks to whether or not the business card is dead. And I think that the new currency, even though admittedly I do still give out a fair number of cards, LinkedIn is the new business card. And if you're not already on it, I would absolutely sign up. It doesn't matter if you post or don't post consistently. It's a great platform to be able to get information, to share information, to follow up with connections that you've made in person that you're working with, friends even from college or high school or wherever. LinkedIn is a key resource to be able to manage the network that you have and then grow it. But I think I realize I didn't answer your question. Um, I mean, there's so many avenues that you could look into to find out information about events. If of course there are organizer websites, which are probably the least thought of in people's minds. So if that's not something that you're accessing occasionally, I would look at social media. I would ask your teams if they're going to any events or know of any events happening. Oftentimes there are local publications that come out with resources about
Right.
events that take place at
In the
conventions.
local cities, yeah.
Exactly. Those are typically events that would be larger scale, or open to the public, which isn't always what our events are. So outside of that, I would say, trying to connect with others, looking at, to your point, media resources like the magazines in our industry that come out with news of the events that they host, as well as other events, and word of mouth. Word of mouth.
Mhm.
Well, what I love to jump into now is just the benefit of networking. So I've admitted on a couple
Mhm.
episodes when we've crossed over this path that networking for me is uncomfortable. Put me on a stage and I'm fully comfortable. Put me in a room of my peers. And it was something I really had to work on to get over. And why I started with that is that I look to the both of you in the rooms, authentically creating relationship and connection. And it was really inspiring to me. So I think for me, it was a reframe. So if you're out there saying networking's not for me or it makes me uncomfortable, what I saw through Lauren and Amy is the ability and the benefit, and not the benefit to collect business cards or contacts, but to connect relationships. But Lauren, how has investing in this side for yourself, so conferences, events, relationships, help you advance your career? Like, let's begin with the benefit for the audience.
I mean, everything is a benefit, quite frankly. I don't think I would be where I am at all without the ability to network. I feel very fortunate in that I've grown up with family members who have been really great networkers. And I think when I was younger, I never truly appreciated the way that I was kind of brought around in those settings because, think
Mhm.
about it. You're a 15, 16, 17-year old. You're going to these networking receptions for something that either you're not interested in or you have no point in being at. But what you realize when I look back on it now, I think about how many times I was exposed to meeting new people, learning how to shake a hand properly, making good eye contact with someone, getting more exposure and more comfortability with meeting someone new who, even though we might not have anything in common or our age differences are massive, um, showed me that I could show up in a way with confidence in a room that I wasn't familiar with. And so, Matt, I give you a lot of credit because I look at what you do as a speaker and I think to myself, my God, even with a musical theater background, to be able to speak the way that you do to the crowds that you do is intimidating in and of itself. But at the end of the day, both things, public speaking and networking, really come back to confidence in yourself. You have to be able to, and I realize it's easier said than done, and you have to work at it and it takes time, but you have to be able and willing to put yourself out there even when it feels uncomfortable. I was thinking about all of the people over the years that I've wanted to reach out to and I've said to myself, "No, you can't do that. They're a CEO or you know, they run a multi-billion dollar organization." And then I think about it and I say, "Okay, well what would the worst thing be that they say to me if I ask for help or a conversation?" No. No, that is truly the worst thing that they could possibly say to me, and is that going to kill my spirit? No. So over time, you learn to, even if you're forcing yourself a little bit, put yourself in uncomfortable positions that ultimately, even if they don't work out, you always learn something from them. And when they do work out, you end up having really great connections like I've had with the both of you. And so I'm really grateful for the opportunity to go to these events, be a little more vulnerable. I understand that as the years have gone by, I've gotten more comfortable and you know, I'm able to kind of show up amongst peers and friends. But there are still people that I walk into a room and my heart's like, okay, they're a CEO. And you have to just kind of stop for a second and say, they're also a person. They're hopefully kind. They're going to be receptive to what you're asking. And if they're not, then they probably weren't worth having a conversation with.
And they also feel intimidated and alone in those rooms as well. Like I've talked to a lot of them and they want somebody to come up and talk to them because they're nervous in the room and they are just people. Like throw out the titles, look at them as a human. I love that you talked about that. I think that that's important. And it also is okay to stand in the room by yourself and have a glass of wine because at some point a conversation will happen.
For sure.
And you when I get to see you, whether we're, RFDC or something, I feel like you go to a class reunion, you're learning along the way, but it becomes this like really important group that you need advocates in the room when you're looking for different roles as you're growing your career journey. And I think that the industry's changed a lot since COVID, where everyone is much more well networked. Everyone wants to see everybody succeed. It's not a competition. And so getting outside your four walls, I would tell everybody, listen, get outside your four walls and go meet one or two people. Even if it's okay to talk to somebody another concept. People get nervous. It's okay. It's okay to pick up the phone literally after this call, or you got everyone listens, and call Lauren and say, how do I do that? Like how do I become a Lauren? Like how do I do that? And what I think Lauren does in the industry is super sexy and cool because there are a lot of people that have different roads and different influences and contribute to what is the word? What is wrong with me? Contributions. It doesn't always mean you stay an operator. There's other maps out there. So you got to kind of know people to know what those things are and learn about them. So make sure you look up Lauren and what she does because it's
For
really
sure.
cool.
Well, can I just add two things to that?
Yeah.
I'll work backwards. So one, my positioning in the industry is really interesting because I'm kind of Switzerland. I'm not an operator, I'm not a supplier, I'm not an educator, I'm not media, I'm not an event. Like I don't really have a puzzle piece that fits exactly the way many other people do. And so that position of neutrality also allows me to kind of pull things from different pockets and people and businesses and say, "Hey, Matt, you were talking about how to, create a wine program in your business. Have you talked to Amy? Do you want to, maybe the two of you should talk." And so I get this really kind of interesting perch of sorts to be able to watch what's happening
And connect people. You're the
and to connect
connector.
them. And I love connecting people. And then the second thing I would say is don't discount small talk. Um, it sounds silly, but
That's a great message.
the number of conversations I've had washing my hands in the bathroom because I just so happened to like look
I'm
over
just glad you
my
wash your hands. I'm
yeah,
glad you
sure.
wash your hands.
Always good hygiene over here. But to look
Yes.
at someone, even if it's something like, "Hey, I love your pants," or "What color lipstick is that?" That spawns into conversations sometimes you can never even imagine that you're going to have. And then, by the way, there have been those times where I've been washing my hands and I look over and I realize, hey, I'm standing next to Amy, the CEO of Barcelona Wine Bar. Maybe I should meet her, or she was on my list of someone that I wanted to talk to at this event, and she just so happens to be washing her hands as well. So don't discount those opportunities for small talk because you never know where you're going to have something in common and where those commonalities can lead to another business opportunity, a friendship. I mean, the sky's the limit.
And what I'd love to do, because I love all of what you just shared, but I think that we're in it, right? We're in the event. Do you mind just for the both of you, because there's a mindset, and I feed off both of your confidence and how comfortable you are in those environments. But there's an emerging leader out there thinking right now, okay, I see myself in the room, but I still stuck in my head about how do I get in the room? Like, how do they get over? What can they do to prepare themselves? They can get the glass of wine. They can ask to start the conversation. But what I found when we've worked with younger emerging leaders on networking, part of the is getting them in the room. Once they're there and they get going, we have community and the conversation starts to go. But sometimes we're too busy.
How do you suggest that? Because you see it, I mean, you're running these conferences. So I'm
Yeah.
curious what you think, Matt.
So on my side, I think, when I walk into sometimes my setting's different. So what I'm looking to is, as Lauren just said, how do we say hello and just start rapport building? So my goal is just how do we show genuine, authentic connection and that you care about a human? So like often I go to events and if someone's looking over my shoulder for the next biggest contact, I'll move on. But I've shown up that I might not be the most comfortable person and I can be awkward in those rooms. Even at this stage of my career, I'm authentically myself. Give me a chance to talk to you and connect with you, and I'm going to show up and be real. And we're going to have a human to human conversation. What your title is, your business card is not as much my interest. But what I found for myself is I had to push myself in those rooms and get outside my comfort zone, which is one step because it's an automatic for both of you at this stage. But talk to your younger self and say, what would you do to kick yourself in the ass and get in that room?
Oof. To get there in the first place?
Yeah, I think it's just like, what's the mindset they need going in, or how do we convince them that the values there, or that they're, we all talk about the inner critic, right, Amy? So how do we get over the inner critic? That how do I show value in that room? And this is the harder question because the audience is like, I get it, I want to be there. We still got to get them on the website first step. We still got to get them to put it in their calendar. We still got to get them inside
Yeah.
the foot. How do we do that? Because we need them there. We need them
Well,
there in our events.
I think,
Mhm.
look, you can only lead the horse to water, as they say. I think there's only so many times we can say how important attending an event is, period. We know it to be true. I'm sure anyone who attends an event would probably say that they understand that sentiment as well. But it really is a matter of just committing to it. I think it's really hard to say, oh, I really want to do something, but I'm going to put it off for the rest of my life. Those two things don't go together. There's a massive delta there. And so I would say if you can already recognize that it's important to be in the room, you just have to make it happen. For as uncomfortable as it might make you feel, just sign up. Whether that's
Mhm.
on your own dime or with
What's the
your
worst that's going to happen? Take the risk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And at the end of the day, the way that you approach an event is really on you. You need to take the initiative to make sure that you are prepared. Forget confidence for a moment. You do have to be able to show up at an event kind of having an understanding of what is the purpose of the event, what are the sessions you want to attend, who are some speakers you might want to meet with, who are some attendees you might want to meet with. Show organizers have done a really good job recently of creating really well curated mobile apps. And it's funny, for as many events as I go to over the course of the year, I download them all, but I really only use them to make sure that I'm going to the right room for a session. And
Mhm.
and that's on me to say, I could be saying, "Oh, I really want to meet Matt." And that app might actually allow me pre-show to message you. And I'm keeping myself from that ability from doing that. And so it really is on the attendee to make sure that they're prepared, be it with business cards, have their LinkedIn profile ready, check that mobile app, have it on their phone. Go to the sessions that really mean something to you. Look up the speakers. I mean, on top of that, I know this sounds kind of silly, but not all events are created equal. There are some events where I look at the attendee demographic or the booths that are going to be there, and I'm like, well, shoot, okay, gotta wear heels, gotta wear a dress to this one, need to look a little bit more polished. And then there are others where I'm like, okay, well, cool pants and fun shoes and a casual attitude are going to make this event. And so I just go in trying to have an understanding of what the environment is going to be like and gathering as much information ahead of time as I can. And so that would be what I would say to the emerging leaders wanting to get themselves in the room. If you know that it's important and you feel that it's important and you want to be there, be there. Period.
Perfectly said.
Thanks.
I think there's event listings in every city on the Restaurant Association websites. And also, most organizations, some don't, some do have GM conferences. And even then, I think managers get nervous to be in the room or talk to each other. And so, if you're going to one of those, go across or meet a GM from another state, meet a manager from another state, talk to the regional directors, and go up and meet your CEO. And don't be nervous to do so. They would love to meet you. They would love for you to walk up and meet them. They get overwhelmed by all the people in the room as well. So as you're thinking about even those conferences, those matter as well because people sprout out from companies and you got to keep those connections as you move on. So I think that's good. Um, Lauren, when you started off in the business, right? You transferred, right, music industry and then you entertainment now here. What do you think are the attributes that you see the most in leadership when they're connecting? Because there are people you'll introduce and they just kind of back off. There are people that take advantage of it and connect. But are there certain leadership styles or attributes that you think that make sense that seem to stand out more than others when you're working with people?
For sure, for sure. And I will scream this from the rooftops, the mountaintops, you name it. Showing up authentically is going to get you in the door, through the door, and all across the room better than anything else you can do. You know, we are in the hospitality business and relationships are the foundation of everything we do. I talk to friends who aren't in the industry and they don't understand how some of my closest relationships are people that we work with. And I say to them, well, you have to remember there are a few factors here. One is there's consistency in how often we're seeing each other. Sure. To your point, Amy, it is like a mini reunion every time we go to an event. But what's actually happened is over the course of however many years, we've opened up to each other in whatever capacity that is. I understand, I might want to open up more than you might. Matt, you might not want to tell anything about your personal life, even though I will drag it out of you as much as I can. But that's just me. But I think it's those hand washing conversations that are happening over time where we say, "Oh, your 5-year-old has a birthday today. What are you getting him for his birthday?" Or, "Oh, you're getting a couch delivered. You have a new lamp." Like, we're gonna remember that and we're gonna take it, to the next conversation, even if it sounds so silly.
Definitely going to go to a next conversation.
We could certainly take that offline. Uh, but I and now I've totally forgotten what the question was. Where was I going with that? Um,
Just, I think you're spot
oh,
on. Just
well, what makes a
authenticate
good
yourself. Like,
yeah.
be
But
you.
but if I can just say kind of the flip side of that is that I think the people who are the least successful are the ones who find these interactions transactional. And you know, there is a part of me that can understand why that happens sometimes. I think there are teams or bosses or internal pressures that say someone has to hit this number, meet this many people, make this many sales, whatever the metric is. And I think that unfortunately sometimes drives people to behave in a way that's really counter to how our industry runs. And I don't necessarily think it's because those people are bad or they don't know how to communicate with people, but I think they've been taught that there is a certain um, aggression or a way that they have to behave to get what they ultimately want. And it's kind of like, I guess it would be the opposite of diamonds. It's like thinking that you need to be overly aggressive, but what you really need to be is a puppy dog. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that gets lost in the sauce sometimes. The people who are the most effective leaders are the ones who are open, the ones who are non judgmental, who are kind, who are generous, who are understanding of people's circumstances and the nuances of people's lives and just generally people who can be authentically them and and in turn allow people to feel like they can be authentic in return. Uh,
Mhm.
because that's what makes this industry great. You go to a restaurant and you have a really fantastic conversation with your server, and 20 minutes later, you know the name of their dogs, where they grew up, what their favorite ice cream flavor is. Like that's not by accident. That's because people want that type of interaction. And there is no reason regardless of how formal or casual an event could be, there is no reason that those types of interactions can't happen there.
Yep. Agree.
And I wanted to bring a question back to both of you. It's a little bit off script because I think what we've given the audience is some really great steps from two remarkable leaders. You sharing you both of your experiences, but looking at what is the benefit of the end result of community. So I'll just share to start as I've had to take some bold steps in my career from where I live to where I'm looking to do my work, and how I met Amy. She's like, "Hey, get on a plane and come see me." And it's normal in the States. So I was pretty far away. It's like, hey, just get on a plane and come to this event. Somebody
It's a small flight.
it is a small flight, but it was the mindset. So it could be too far of a flight, or it could be a hop and a jump. But why I network is it creates my community and my friendship. Like I care deeply for both of you as my friends, and my like I truly do care for both of you on that side. So if I didn't, the benefit of networking is community and connection and a family environment inside our work community, as you can go and have that reunion, but also have that trust. I lean on both of you for some things well outside of the scope of work. So what's the benefit to you to, why network to say, because somebody's still sitting there, so we know the steps, we know how, but what's the why for the both of you? What has it meant for you? I know we said it's helped your career, but give me a specific example of what taking a bold step on networking has impacted you. And Amy, I'll start with you and give Lauren a second to think.
Mm.
What's a step you've made too?
I'm going to sound dramatic, but it's been everything for me. I think people think they go to work and they're not their real friends, but I actually think my work circle, Lauren, you, Karen, Laura, um, Kim, I mean, I literally could have a bad day, or like Julie, or something's going on, and we have a chat that Lauren's on. It's kind of like a badass ladies group, but we talk about all the things, and I don't feel like it's not, those aren't my work friends. Those are now actually have become my real friends. And people say, how do you have friendships on the road and all of that? My friendships are on the road, and they're at the conference. And when I walk in, I hug, like you get hugs and they're part of your family. And I remember growing up in the industry, and I have a very strange background, and we don't need to get into that, but I don't have family. I mean, I have my husband and he has and I have his family, but my own personal immediate family, I do not have one. And so, um, when people talk about the restaurant industry, it is my home. Like these are my people. And I don't even think after I retire, my friendships are ending. Like they're lifetime friendships in this industry. And so, and one of the most hilarious yet funny yet real things that I've learned is that I would say 90% of the people in the restaurant industry share, and we do not judge. It is a non-judging platform. There are people that do it, but those are not the people that I surround myself with. So if you're going through something or you want to share something, it's like we're in this together. We're going to figure life out together. We got your back. And so um that's just from my perspective. Lauren, what about you?
So I'm going to answer this two ways because first of all, I wholeheartedly agree with absolutely everything you said. And from a personal perspective, I for a very long time felt like my ability to connect with women, especially women in our industry, was just doomed essentially. I have young kids. I struggle to connect with the moms of my kids' friends. I was finding hardships in female relationships at work, either because, we weren't as represented, we weren't as loud back then. I don't know what the answer is there. But to your point, Amy, those text groups have been like the single greatest highlight of my day because some days you're right. Some days we talk about, hey, I need this connection, I need help, who knows this thing, all work related. Some days it's, hey, ladies, wake up. You have a great day. We're all amazing, girl power. Some
Or
days,
where do you buy underwear? Like we
for
talk
sure.
about all the things.
Or you judging my choice in lipsticks, but then it's also things like I am struggling severely with my mental health right now. How do I manage this? And that has been the single greatest takeaway that I've had because I also agree with you. Some of my closest friends are on the road. And to your point, it makes me sad sometimes because I'm like, it's unfortunate that I have to go to California to be with my close friend or go to Nashville to be with my close friend or go to Canada to be with my close friend. But to Matt, your anecdote I know was work related, but like it's just a plane ride. We can figure it out. But from a professional standpoint, because I haven't had the opportunity to relay this story yet, I never would have met you, Amy, had I not seen you at a conference and said, hey, I'd really like to talk to you about something. Can we spend, 20 minutes outside? And as I try to recall how that all came to be, I wanted to get to know you as a leader in the industry. I knew you were doing really great things for women. I knew you were doing really great things for emerging leaders. I knew that mentorship was something that you were actively pursuing and supporting. And I wanted to figure out how to get there. And instead, what transpired was a conversation about both of our lives, which, it's funny, it was only 2 or 3 years ago. And I look back and I think, wow, even in those couple of years, I've blossomed in what I'm willing to share with people. And that ability to share has made my life so much richer. But, you wouldn't have had this professional connection that we have if it wasn't for stepping out of my comfort zone and doing that. And so I think that being able to network has benefits completely across the board. There are so many places that you can pull from, but it's until you're willing to say, I know that this is really important for me, and even if it's scary, I'm going to do it anyway.
Mhm.
Then you have, a little hurdle that you have to get over. But once you get over that, this, color coordinated friend circle over here, like that doesn't happen by accident. So
Mhm.
I appreciate
Love
you
it.
for that.
Love you.
And so as we kind of bring this great conversation and episode to a close, just looking at action steps or maybe a story. And I was thinking as you both shared, I remember when LinkedIn came out, I had no idea what I was doing. I just jumped in and started to invest time in it. So I gave it a certain amount of time per day to try to first understand it, then to start to consume some of the content. This is years ago now. And then obviously start to create connections. So there's simple and free ways to do it. And when it comes to your event, I shared up front that sometimes I was uncomfortable. Like Lauren said, you just have to do it. I remember sitting in an event that I had to go, like Amy did. I had to fund it myself because I didn't have anybody to fund it. My company wasn't going to do it. I waited in line in the rain. It was for a Tony Robbins event and at a real estate event, but I knew I wanted to see Tony and meet some people that were going to be there. And I went and sat there for 14 hours to get the 2 hour window. And that was the first step. So although sometimes I didn't feel comfortable walking into the rooms, every single room I've walked into has provided the opportunity to create connection with people that I have like-minded experiences with, and in turn build friendships with. So my encouragement, like Lauren and Amy have said, find a way to build up the confidence and get yourself in that room. Lauren and Amy, closing thoughts for our episode today. Leave us with an action step, ladies.
I'm going to leave that to Lauren. I'm just going to say thanks for being on, Lauren. You're authentic, you're real. And if anybody goes to an event, look Lauren up, but also look her up on LinkedIn and create your page. And maybe Matt, we can send some info out on what LinkedIn is and how they can set up a page.
I think that's a great piece of advice. My final takeaway would be, remember that everyone is human and we all want to connect similarly. So share as much or as little as you want to, but remember that what makes us all human is similarity and commonality. And the right people for you will be willing to share what you share as well. So
love it.
Well, not in this episode, but I've overshared with both of you, incredible leaders. Thank you for being friends. Thank you for being my community. Thank you for supporting me inside of work and especially outside of work. We'll put some details on LinkedIn in this episode in the comments. And thank you for watching.
Thank you, Matt and Lauren.